Well, real quick. You know, in the past few years, since I've been looking into this stuff like narcissism and borderline personality disorder, and narcopaths, confronting these things, and coming to find out, like, look, it almost would seem as if it's like possession, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's not an externally created kind of entity. These are like programs that and like scripts that are running people's inside of their head, or inside of their being, and they're basically equivalent, like there's basically it's a stronghold. It's like a recurring, consistent like belief in something that's hindering or hurting you, harming you, and on confrontation of these things, when I run to them in people, you know what I'm saying, in conversation and in life and stuff, first to sit back and gather intelligence. Like, look, you go into this observational mode when you see it activating somebody, but it's like, it's real easy to kind of see, like, look, people have these loops, like, where it's like, it's a reoccurring theme. It's like the same thing happening over and over again. And in some people's, like, a lot of the time, it's like they're contributing somehow, and they're kind of reliving some past trauma kind of deal. But it's almost as if it's like a freaking parasite that, like, in the beginning, it was there as they thought it was protection, or it was, at the time it was a temporary solution to a problem that they wasn't ready to deal with. But it's like, okay, there's this excuse that they'll have to guard it. Like, look, they will guard these things, these parasites. Or it's like the parasite itself is activated. It's like there's a point, like in borderline, where people have split freaking personalities. It's like this thing is, it's kind of like, they fed it so much that it's kind of like that movie, man, where that Little Shop of Horrors, where it's this plant where they just at first just only had to sacrifice a little bit of blood, and it could be from their own finger, but before long, the parasite, this fugitive that's inside of someone, like, look, because it's too hard to confront it, you know what I'm saying? It's like, first they come out violently, like, look, what they do is they attack, like, look, things that you perceive, or they perceive that you perceive as weaknesses. They, like, go for your jugular vein, your sore spots. If you, like, look, they sit back and do intelligence on you, and through this long, like, through these phases, this, the love bombing, the crazy making, the explosive and reconciliation, like, through these, because they're used to the loops, they're comfortable with them, so in a way, they start, either they know what they're doing, and it's just freaking like, look, it's a character flaw, or they're just doing it out of habit, but it's like, but it's kind of like sometimes these people seem to be doing this intentionally. It's like the parasite needs to be fed, and it was birthed out of, like, trauma and all this freaking arguments and these bad bloods and these excuses to have a bad attitude. So that's what it takes to keep them alive. So they go out and they pick these fights, and they'll have all these justifications for why they're like, hey man, why are you so freaking wound up? Well, oh, this person did that to me and this person did that, and they have it like, you can tell like they've rehearsed it inside of their mind when they actually, you give them when they create an opportunity for you through coercion, give them excuse to tell you what for and like really what they're up to. Like, it's like, okay, I understand sometimes things bother people, right? But there's also a point where it's like, wait, it's almost not even what everyone else is doing to you anymore. That's the problem. It's like, why do you let it bother you so much? There's even a bigger beast than the bullies and it's like, man, dude, it's sad to say, but it's not fair. Nobody owes you anything. And look, people seek exploitative, narcissistic safe havens and positions of authority where they can impose abuse onto you. And this is always like, look, these are always like a projection or a transference. Like, this person's mad at their frickin' self or their parents or somebody, like, look, and then now they get to, like, say let's just say they work at a bar and they're a frickin' doorman. So every time anybody crosses the line, they make sure they lay them out. You know what I'm saying? But really, they're seeing their dad that was never there when they do it. Like, look, there's always something behind something. You know, it would seem, and it's like, you know, and you can't just frickin' ever make a person see it neither, dude. It's like a point somehow they got to get to on their own, and it kind of starts off by them in the first place kind of wanting it, entertaining the idea. So, but being an outsider looking in, it's easy to spot these things out because they're the same. They're the same everywhere you look and find them. You know, it's the same pattern. Like, a narcissist is a narcissist. Like, look, my narcissistic situations are similar to most people who have experienced narcissistic abuse. The bullying I've experienced is probably a lot similar to a lot of bullying other people experienced. And, you know, the ways I've retaliated on people was similar to the abuse that, I freaking was already receiving from somebody else. And it was a transference onto somebody else about the people I was really mad at, but there was no power to do anything. You know, so looking back on it now, you know, you can see why it's like, when you go through that stuff, how, you know, why you respond the way you do sometimes. And, you know, but see, that's the thing too. The parasite would say, well, look, they did it to me first. And, I put up with the abuse. And I just was quiet about it. And I just went on with my life. Like, look, freaking, it's like, these things happen all across there's kind of like this freaking secret abuse that goes on. But if you ever mention it, it's like, you'll be like, oh, you're just a wussy. That stuff's good for people. You know, it helps the repetition really sink in a way. I don't know, man, but it almost does seem like, look, that these people, they're constructed. It's because it's kind of like, look, their character also comes across as, look, man, I got it all together. I'm okay. I'm all good. But it's like, it's not really true. It's just a facade that they're putting on. So, look, that's part of the parasite too. See, the parasite has a part about itself that's blended in, or it's even almost pretty and desirable, right? Freaking. So, Oh, I just got fucking beamed by the cops. Freaking, that it's alluring, it's seductive, it's, but it's almost like the proverbial wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, you know, and, they advertise the wool so you can get, so you catch the teeth, man, you know, and that's why it's like, look, it's like, wait a second, no, that ain't true. Look, well, if it's like that, if everything's okay, well, what about when you was talking about that? And then all of a sudden, they will, you know, escalate the situation, word salad you, change the subject, and then somehow redirect it all, put you in the hot seat. And then once you catch it, and you're like, wait a second, this wasn't about me in the first place. Look, they're gone by that point. Because they try to, in a way, it's kind of like they hurry up and they get agitated emotionally in an attempt to flare you up emotionally, because they know you was using your logical mind. And in a way, they waited for the opportune moment. This is part of the venom of the parasite, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna spit some venom in your eyes real quick and try to infect you with its emotional, like, instability. And you know, it's raw, primal, like, impulsive, like, fight or flight and fight to the very fucking death, out of 0 to 90, man. Like, all out of ambush. Like, look, it's really like, it's like, whoa, that's a good sign. Like, right there, that's a person like that I'm talking about, that's got a big parasite. Like, if all of a sudden they just get offended out of nowhere and they respond extremely, like, disproportionate, it's because it's kind of like a person with a guilty conscience, man. Gets fucking, like, thinks that everybody's accusing them of something. Because they're inside of their head, they're not telling anybody. You don't see this, but they're like, man, I hope them detectives don't come knocking at my house again. Look, so they're hyper vigilant, and they're extremely sensitive to any kind of perceived inquiry that would relate to what is bothering them, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I mean, these are just examples of how the parasite works and how they get created. And it normally is from some kind of, like, look, like, you know, you've been, you know, it's freaking, it's just from doing wrong, in a way, kind of like opens the door for something that you shouldn't be doing, for you to, like, it becomes a gateway, like a gateway drug. Like, you start off just lying, but now you're forging documents. You are getting married to people, like the widow wives, man, black widow wives. Like, now you're saying, yeah, I do, and then you're secretly, like, slipping somebody, you know, like bug killer inside of their soup, and they have an untimely death, and you collect the loot. You know, and that's where someone has been totally hijacked by the parasite, and where the human being isn't even really present anymore. Like, it's been killed and so suppressed and buried, and you know, just it's gone, and all that's left, this person has, now they're stuck in the parasite, which are all these kind of, like, just behavioral self-defense, self-preservation mechanisms that, you know, in the right context, they're good, but once they're activated, and then, like, look, oh, everything's okay, they go on with life, but secretly the person learned how to just conceal the monster inside of them. And you know, and then, you know, no one wants to ever think the worst about somebody, so we don't see